What a goddamn episode this was. I mean, just when you think the twists and turns have slowed down, because, I mean, how do you top the cliffhanger of last week? You somehow top the cliffhanger of last week as we're in this weird, almost like, I thought I was being sucked into like a weird time rift like in Pokemon Legends. I don't know how much of a crossover my audience for this series in Pokemon is, but if there is any crossover, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this was awesome. That's probably the best word to sum up this episode, pure awesome, because there's so much mystery about this charlatan parade and this weird creature and the idea that apparently Chloe could give it a human form, but, our boy is seemingly concerned about giving it a human form. Where do you go and how do you continue to escalate? Because as it stands, it's hard to imagine this arc being able to go crazier than without these two leading it. Chloe and this kind of like weird Nania or whatever the hell the name was. Absolutely love that they're continuing to kind of prolong this conflict without it feeling dragged out. I absolutely adore that they just so casually reveal that, even before the initial reveal, our boy Cat has a suspicion, and I like the reason for not exploring that suspicion is because he has a general fear for vampires, even though Noe and him clearly have a very close connection. But the idea of could you so casually reveal to a vampire that your suspicion that we need to kill is actually your queen? Absolutely not. And to see once it got its human form or its physical form, the human form kind of broke free, and it was this beautiful girl who then turned so twisted and corrupt and dragged this entire village into a world of madness. And the fact that they can so casually reintroduce Roland, who, absolutely love Roland, and just the idea of the kind of trollish nature and how close he wants to be to both of them. Noe pretty much just living for it, Vanessa pretty much just wanting to die. But I love how they escalate it in such a brilliant way, while simultaneously giving even more backstory to someone like Jean, and the idea that the person who's seemingly saving her, the voice in her head anyway, is our best boy himself, and the fact that you can really tell they belong together at this point. But it was so crazy because they so casually broke reality in this episode, which makes total sense given what this song was meant to be in terms of, it could literally change everything depending on who controls it. And the fact that we're now throwing all these innocent bystanders, and if a single one was to fall, there would be no saving Chloe. For her people and protecting them is first priority. And as she states in this episode and has stated in a previous episode, she's a very jealous woman. So John Jack being touched and violated is enough for her to go on that rampage. And even though I knew, I was like, there's no way it's going to end that quickly. To see that violent rage before she ultimately kind of got her ass handed to her, it was pretty badass, but then turned quite frightening all at the same time. And this is what's so cool about the second cour, is it really plays with your dedication to the first cour. I really liked the first cour, but seeing how all these characters and all these pieces that were kind of laid out before this arc, this almost in a lot of ways could be an endgame for many shows out there. But knowing that there is more source material, even though there's not quite enough material for a season 3 as it stands, the fact that there is, still more material left to come, it doesn't feel like one of those, okay, the author is probably blowing their load too early. They're basically laying out what should be an end game, and then they're going to try to one-up themselves. This just feels like the perfect moment, almost to me anyway. I'm not exactly sure how the pacing feels in the manga that is, but to me this almost feels like the midway point of the story, where we're building up to the biggest catastrophe that we've seen to date, where we very well might be able to deal with this presence, and if not, that very well could lead into another arc. But I love how they're pacing it in such a way by introducing all those relationships, those elements, both good and bad, and now we can have characters like Roland give our characters a chance to say, hey, if they don't cause too much of a ruckus, I can leave it in your hands, but if people start dying and things start to go amok, I'm gonna have to kill. I'm gonna have to take down this beast. We wouldn't have been able to have something like this if it immediately concluded after that kind of that prison arc where, they were fighting each other and things like that. But I love how this is just rewarding patience, because I do remember, even though this has a dedicated following, there was quite a few anime fans I remember over the weeks, especially towards the end of the first cour, saying, I just wish it gets a bit more exciting down the line because it does feel like a lot of buildup. And even though it entertained me every week, it was a lot of buildup. And to see the pieces in the world and the history finally come together in this way and it be as explosive and visually stunning as it is, leaves a giant grin on my face. Because the way they essentially start into this realm with this almost noir aesthetic, the black shadows creeping over everything and sucking it into this world of darkness, to then be brought into this like neon space time distorted light. And I mean, it's absolutely fantastic to see how floaty everything is. Like there's pieces of bridges like everywhere, so you'll have characters like probably a mile away on this like floating island. How do you get there? Can you jump to it? Or like just crazy. And then you see all the wolves at one point kind of form into a wolf tornado. Never thought I'd say that, but hey, leave it to the case study to kind of prove me wrong. The voice actors though was definitely probably the star of it was in the first handful of minutes and the last handful of minutes. And to see, you know, the violent rage of Chloe just radiating with that, like, that was some big bitch energy. Like, before she did get kind of annihilated there, that was some big bitch energy where she was like, I am going to kill you. And the way she was mocking, being like, wow, you're actually a little harder to kill than I thought. As you saw her hands, like, just go into her throat, I'm like, holy shit, I know we need to kill the creature, but goddamn, that's actually a little violent. And then with John's kind of like voice acting and pain, seeing her like be thrown into like an endless sleep until basically, you know, things are over and the war's over, as then you have, you know, our boy's voice kind of seeping into her mind trying to free her. There was just such a good quality to the voice actors this week that went above and beyond what we're typically used to in the general scenes. And that's the type of stuff that I love about anime. When you can have that extra touch with the visual flair, the noir shadows, to then the time distortion kind of area of effect there, to then the voice actors making the pain, the suffering, and the rage so damn compelling, or even the fear in Vanessa's voice when he's saying, don't do it. You really got a sense of so much emotion without needing many words actually spoken. I mean, I love this cour. It is so far perfect for what I want. Obviously, I know manga readers can have different opinions because maybe they handle things differently, they don't show as much, but I mean, for an anime only, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely adoring it, and hopefully, even though there isn't enough material for another 12 episodes as it stands from what I've been told, once this one does wrap up, hopefully when there is, you know, Studio Bones can come back to this and show us more, because this is one of those things that absolutely deserves a full adaptation. And hell, maybe in the process of waiting for more case study, maybe we'll get a full adaptation, a proper adaptation of Pandora Hearts. Heard nothing but good things about that too, so maybe that also would be a nice little kind of side piece that Studio Bones or another great studio could do in the process of waiting for more case study. But thoughts and feelings on this pretty damn crazy episode. I'm glad the first episode of this cour wasn't a fluke, and you know, the crazy twists and turns we're just setting up our expectations, so we knew crazy twists and turns would continue. But feelings down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.